This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
Welcome back, everybody. I believe that we live in a fast world. Call it a fast food world, instant gratification world, where you want it now. You go on Amazon, click, depending on where you live, and it shows up at your doorstep about 3 o'clock. And same day, by the way, which is all great for whatever you're ordering. Now, take the word now. Let's put a word in front of it. Happiness now. Wouldn't it be great to feel happy now? Feel better about yourself, feel better about your life, feel that you're attaining certain goals, feeling like you're unstuck, and that things are good, joyful, happy now. That's actually the name of her practice, Happiness Now Therapy. And she's a licensed mental health therapist with decades of experience and deep-rooted in clinical and holistic healing. She's also a coach. I said holistic, very different. We're going to talk with her today. Kimberly Trickey joins us on the program. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me here today.
Oh, great to have you here. We need you. We need happiness. We need it now. Stat. Love the name of the practice, by the way. It's now. it really is. Making you different. I would like to take a look at some of those things. You're a coach and you can work with anybody on that level anywhere, virtually. You're also a therapist, yep. Right? Been doing that for a long time. Yep. Where can you help people with that?
Correct. Yes, I am licensed in the states of Wisconsin and Colorado currently. And so I am able to practice in those states with therapy, which is licensed by state. And then the coaching, yes, anywhere in the world I can help folks.
Do you find, well, let's do this. Let's make it super clear. Difference between coaching and therapy.
It's a fine line, really. With therapy, it is a bit more clinical. It involves a diagnosis. It can be billed through insurance, helps people in a little bit different modalities sometimes. With coaching, it doesn't focus so much on a diagnosis. There is no diagnosis with coaching. It is focused on what people bring to the table and helping them move forward to achieve whatever they want to achieve in their lives. Both of the things, both therapy and coaching, help immensely with folks. And it is a gray line because you're helping both, but the therapy is a bit more clinical in that aspect.
I hear from many, and even in my own journey, that therapy often goes back. You're talking about things that have happened, whereby coaching is a little more in the fast forward. We're not going back. We're working on now, accountability and all of that. Would that be somewhat accurate?
Typically, yes. But I think I work in a little bit different of a modality in that because probably my history with therapy, right? So I am very focused on trauma and working on things that have happened in the past because so much of our behaviors and our reactions come from wounds that happened to us very early in childhood, even our attachment style. So relationships are focused too. I mean, it's based on what happened to you and not just what happened to you, but then how you perceived what happened to you.
We could do 10 podcasts on that alone.
I'm
right?
sure. Yeah.
And that's, part of the word healing. And I say it here all the time. We all have things we need to heal from. And if somebody says, "Mom, fine, I don't have to heal," you do.
Yeah.
We all got, there's all something there. Do you delve into that healing aspect? Call it the traumas from childhood. That's another strong word. Doesn't have to be car accident, passing of a loved one. Could be you got bullied one day on the playground, and that changed the course of your life on how you pilot. Do you delve into that a little bit when it comes to coaching, or that stuff that's more of a therapy level?
Nope, I dive into that very deep.
Good for you. Good for you.
What a lot of people don't understand is, like you said, the traumas don't need to be a car accident or being abused in some terrible way, right? It can be as simple as, you're 3 years old and, you're having a lot of big emotions and your mom or dad are busy or they're stressed and they aren't responding to you the way that you need to be responded. And that little child's mind can't necessarily comprehend, why the parent isn't responding to them and giving them what they need in that moment, right? And so oftentimes we take that moment and we create a narrative in our head. I'm not good enough. I'm a bad child. I need to be better so that I can get the love and attention I need from my parent. And
Mm.
that is trauma. And the biggest thing about trauma that a lot of people don't realize is it's not, I mean, it's what happens, but it's really being alone with what happens. Because when we're alone, that's when we create that narrative.
What you just said is the magic ticket. It really is. Nobody's ever said that before. And I've done a lot of podcasts on this. No one has ever said that. And that is the truth of what's going on here, because we can keep ourselves busy. We can find diversions, habits, addictions, all of that stuff so that we don't have to confront us. But when you're alone, that's where I believe the healing takes place. That's where the realization takes place. Sometimes it's not so comfortable. But that's where that stuff comes up. And I heard this recently, and I want your feedback on it. And it was just a passing comment. When you have a memory from your childhood, that's actually your subconscious saying, hello, and not a good memory, one that's challenging. Your subconscious is saying, hello there, I need some help. We got to heal this thing over here. That's why I gave you that memory, just letting you know. Do you think that's true?
100%. Yes.
Wow.
Yep. Yep. And I'm very focused on somatic work also, which is the body, because a lot of people are starting to really connect with that whole mind body connection,
Mm.
right? And understanding it. And science is now, backing a lot of this up.
Yeah.
But it is very true, that we trap this trauma in our bodies, right? And so very often we think it's all coming from up here, but it's not. It's all over in our body, right? And so much of the time when people are having emotions, whether it's sadness or fear or anger, I will direct them, what are you feeling in your body right now? Right? A lot of times, people will experience, especially around anxiety or worry, a lot of people feel that in their gut, right? Sometimes
Mm.
you can even feel nauseous with that, right?
Oh, well, that's for me, intuition. It's the quote unquote gut feeling. You're feeling it there. Um,
Yeah.
but to your point about I believe it's cellular level. It's everything that you've ever dealt with. It's down to the cells in your body. And
Yes.
if you don't deal with it, those cells can change and then you can get sick and disease
Yeah.
and all of that other stuff going on.
100%. Yep. Yep.
Mm. Wow. Um, the word somatic, can you define that? I mentioned you mentioned body, but just a little bit deeper.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it just really has to do with anything with the body, like experiencing things in the body, whether it's pain, whether it's emotion, the body has its own intelligence, right? And so it's tapping into those things, and yeah, I do a lot of breath work because through breath work, we're able to kind of move the energies around in the body and release some traumas that sometimes we can't even cognitively acknowledge.
Wow, just from breath work?
Yes, yes, it can be very powerful.
More than I ever thought. And not that I didn't think breath work was not impactful, but there you go. Why
Yeah,
it's so
it can be
important.
very transformational. It really can
Mhm.
be.
Well, and also to the other point where meditation many times focuses on your breathing, and where are you with that meditation? You are with yourself, which we said before is a challenging place to be for many of us because that's where a lot of stuff could potentially come up. Hmm.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Tell us about your journey, Kimberly. What got you here? Where did your fascination with the mind start? How did it all happen?
Well, I've struggled with several things throughout my life. I've had my own trauma journeys, things that I've
Oh my
suppressed for
gosh, no way. You had
time.
trauma?
Absolutely. We all do.
We all
Yep.
do. Yeah.
100%. And through my own struggles and through my own healing, I have found ways that have helped me that I've wanted to pass along to others. I feel like I've always worked in some capacity to help other people, but I really came upon it around the year 2000 when I started a position with a county in crisis mobile work. And it was a bit baptism by fire, where we would go out and we would meet people really in their darkest hours, right? And walk alongside of them and help them in whatever capacity we could at that point, you know. And then throughout my therapy work, you know, I've just progressed in that fashion. And then coaching and just adding more and more modalities as I've been on my own healing journey, you know, and I've been in therapy, I've been in coaching, I've lived the, you know, all of the things, right? You know, all of the different modalities of healing that I can use, then
Wow.
I can then go ahead and pass that on to other people.
Wow. Let's look at somebody that you're helping, and thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Just even to say, you've gone through stuff too. We all have,
Yeah.
and we need to confront a lot of it. You're working with somebody on a therapy level. Do you blend in the coaching as well?
Sometimes, yes. You know, it is to me a more fluid, you know, type of work because it doesn't need to always be clinical, right? I really see myself, you know, when people talk about therapy, you know, like sometimes they're Jungian or Freudian or they have different, you know, types that they want to work under. And I've always seen myself mostly as a person-centered therapist. Really, I meet people where they're at, and then I provide whatever I can based on what they're bringing to the table, right? And so it can change as more things come up. I see healing not as a linear process. You know, there's a lot of, you know, ups and downs throughout the whole process. And as people heal, one layer, the top layer comes off, then other things start coming up from underneath that, right? And so
Mm.
then we use a different modality to address those things.
What was your aha moment that you had? And you don't have to say exactly what it was, but the connection between, I call it connecting the dots. What you're doing now or to when you figured it out and how it connected to your childhood. Did you have one of those moments like, oh, okay, there's a connection?
You know, I'm not sure I can name one. There are so
Yeah.
many. There are
Mm.
so many, you know, and even as I work with people, you know, I mean, there's there's definitely a relationship there, right? As I'm helping other people, I'm hearing the words that I'm using with those folks, you know, and then if I'm not being authentic and utilizing my own, you know, healing modalities, then I'm not being authentic, am I?
Mm.
Right? And so, you know, I tie those things into my own childhood as well as, you know, like, you know, if someone comes to me with something that, you know, is very foreign to me, maybe like a completely different experience than I'm familiar with, you know, then oftentimes there are those like moments of, you know, how does this tie in with me? And are there other things that I need to research to help this person? Right. And so I feel like it helps me continue to expand my practice as I learn maybe something I haven't experienced before, and then find different ways to help that person.
It's got to be so gratifying when somebody has one of those epiphanies and realizes, oh my gosh, all this time as an adult, I worried about this or I acted a certain way, and now I know why because it goes back to that time when I was 7 years old or whatever it might be. How does that make you feel when somebody through your work has that realization?
That's why I do the work I do. 100%. It's the most rewarding thing when someone has that breakthrough. It's just immense, right?
Mm.
And even like what you were saying before about my own experiences, I was just thinking a little bit more about that. And like I recently had, you know, some pain in my jaw and my tooth and went to the dentist and, you know, I had a cracked tooth, you know, and they said, you're grinding your teeth at night. And I had suppressed that. I remember being a child and I actually had
A
what like a
mouth guard or something?
yeah, like a mouth guard at night because I was grinding my teeth even
Mm.
as a teenager, as a, preteen, and I had suppressed that. I had forgotten that. And I was like, yeah, like that's like that level of anxiety that I had in childhood, you know, I suppressed it for a long time. And it's like, okay, all of these behaviors that I've had are tied to that anxiety, right? And so you can have all of those moments. So as I'm helping other people, I know that I'm doing my own healing as well. It's a process. I don't think anyone ever finishes healing because, again, as we move through life, I mean, you can just turn on the news today and you can have trauma, right? There's just so much chaos in the world that, we continually need to heal from different experiences all the way throughout life.
Kimberly, I look at now that I've learned all of this in my journey, and I don't do therapy, I don't do coaching, so I'm not having those that feeling that you have when you help somebody realize something, but I get great joy out of sharing stuff that you talk about with others. Like just and I wouldn't do it unless I knew actually it's true. It makes sense. It blows my mind how we're able to function on a daily basis when we're walking around with all this stuff from our childhood. And as I've learned, and want your feedback on this, our subconscious is always looking for proof continually to back up this stuff. So it could have been something, an event. Let's say you're 7 years old and your best friend says, I don't want to be friend anymore. Goodbye. And walks away. Now you're like, I
Yep.
don't have a friend. That was my friend. And so it could be abandonment, whatever.
Yep.
One situation.
Yep.
And your subconscious is looking for proof for the next time and the next time just to back it up.
Yep.
You've like volumes of that,
Yes.
and
Absolutely.
how do we function? How are we even getting this done?
There are, mechanisms in the brain that turn things off, right? And that's how we suppress it, right? But the problem with suppressing it is we're then not really working on it, right? It's still there, it's never going away, and it's still affecting and impacting our relationships and the way that we react and respond and our behaviors, right?
Mm, yeah, yeah, it's pretty profound. We have time. I don't know if we want to open up the ketamine door yet, or should we save that for another podcast? Because that's something that you offer, and I think it's going to take a while to talk about that.
Sure,
I
sure.
think
We
maybe we
can save
should.
that for-
Yeah, I think we should spend an entire podcast on just that alone. How about some of the other things you offer? Retreats, workshop, presenting, speaking. Tell us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I provide all kinds of workshops on lots of different topics. Um, with groups, I'm really focused in on positive parenting groups,
Mm,
as well as couple retreats and teen groups working on self-esteem. Like we were talking about before, and that sense of aloneness with things, right? When we work in a group modality, it really helps. We have that sense of connection with others, that we're not alone in it, that we're not needing to be fixed all by ourselves, right? You're not alone in it. You are in a community with it. And
mm,
oftentimes when we are able to work in a group, we can learn in the same way that I can work on my own healing because things come up in therapy, right? Or coaching, right? It helps other people then be able to bounce ideas off of others, learn how other people maybe have managed a certain, issue that they were working on, and so it really helps in that group setting to get other people's, feedback.
I 100% agree with you. I'm part of a men's group, been for like a year and a half. Never thought I would do anything like this. And it's supportive. We also do community service. It's a leadership group, but we support. And we have a shaman moment. We talk about certain things and shadow work and all that. And it was in the last couple of months that I had some realization, if you want to call it that, related
Sure.
to my father. My parents got divorced. I'm transparent. When I was very young, like
Yeah.
barely even born, wasn't super close with him. Passed when I was 21 suddenly. A lot of unresolved stuff there. But in just others speaking, I had realization of a number of things where I almost zoned out from the conversation. Like I floated away for a moment and I was just thinking like, whoa, I never even knew, I didn't realize that. Oh, okay. So to your point, powerful. It's not, you can share stuff if you want. Just leaning back and listening to others takes your mind down a certain road where along the way you see landmarks, i.e., those realizations. Very powerful, very powerful. Yeah. And I needed, and here, one final thought on all of that. I went to a retreat where the men's group started. You go away for a weekend and that's where it begins. I never knew I would never do this. I signed up with not even knowing what I thought it was a cult. It's not. And interestingly, the last day of the retreat, it's a weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you leave on a Monday. The
Right.
last day, I realized then, this is like a year and a half ago, that day would have been my father's birthday.
Oh, wow.
So, and part of the lessons there was thanking your father for what he gave you, whether you like him or not, the things that he gave you. And we refer to ourselves only by our last names to honor your father. But it was his birthday. I never even thought of that. And it was just like, I'm here for a reason. There's a reason. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel those synchronicities are very impactful. I absolutely feel like those things happen for a reason.
I'm right there with you. Yeah. Yeah. The challenge is seeing it.
Yes, yes.
Right? Because we're so busy. Technology is great, but all it does is take our attention away. And maybe sometimes you got to sit by yourself so you can start thinking. And also, I feel, see the beauty, a leaf on a tree. When was the last time you looked at one and said, oh my gosh, look how cool that is? We don't do it, but we need to get back to doing that.
We do, because that's gratitude, right? And if you look at emotions like on a frequency level, right? Gratitude is the highest. Gratitude will always bring you up. Yes.
I always thought love was the highest vibration.
Gratitude. Gratitude is the top of the scale, and the bottom is shame.
Shame.
And shame actually equates to trauma. So when we're in a place of shame, we are experiencing trauma.
Wow. Wow. And how many times in our lives, maybe on a fairly regular basis, you're dealing with shame. You might not even know it's shame.
Right.
But it's very closely connected. And wow. Gratitude the highest. All right, learn something here. Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Would love be the vibration underneath that?
I believe, I don't know if love is there or joy is next, and then love. I'll have to look that up. I don't want to speak and be wrong.
But I see where you're going with that, because you need to have joy before you can really experience love the right way.
Mm-hmm.
The right way. All right. Steve will be driving today and thinking about this. This is what I do. Kimberly, fantastic having you here. How do we connect with you if somebody is in your region that's looking for therapy, or somebody just wants to learn more about coaching anywhere located on the planet, maybe the retreats or workshops? How do we do that?
Absolutely. You can reach out to me at kim.transcendentjourney@gmail.com. Also at kim.happinessnowwellness@gmail.com. And you can also go to my websites. I have 2 websites. One is happinessnowwellness.com, and the other is transcendent, and then there's a little dash journey.com.
Excellent talking with you today. Gratitude. I'm grateful that we had this conversation. Learned a lot, validated a lot too, and we got things to talk about next time we get together. I'm looking forward.
I am too. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.